meeting to order. Would you please join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item B, recording of the roll.
All present except for Mayor Portman and Commissioner Shackelford, who both have excused absences.
Thank you. C, approval of the consent agenda. Commissioners.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Tower, seconded by Commissioner Care to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Care.
Yes.
Tower.
Yes.
Semo.
Yes. Item D, approval of the agenda. We have two additions to the agenda. Item F1 and F2, which are in a handout. Would you like me to read them here?
Yes, please.
All right. Item F1 is discuss and consider scheduling the Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing for Monday, September 9th, 2013 at 5:25 p.m. to hear comment on a variance request from Robert and Donna Madsen to construct one or more accessory structure, parentheses garage, parentheses, than permitted by ordinance to exceed the maximum square footage permitted and to exceed the maximum height permitted located at 907 Celia Street. And that's item F1. And item F2 is discuss and consider approving the lease agreement for rental space at the city center with Mara McKay. Now, these are F1 and F2, and I would think it would make sense to do them before item F, because F and G have to do with themselves, and we can do those together. So
Sure.
that's what I'm proposing.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Towers, support by Commissioner Care to approve the agenda as amended. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item E, citizens wishing to address the commission on items on the agenda, 3-minute limit. Any citizens wishing to address the commission? No one appears to want to, so we'll move on to item F1, which is discuss and consider scheduling a zoning board of appeals public hearing for Monday, September 9th, 2013 at 5:25 p.m. to hear comment on a variance request from Robert and Donna Madsen to construct one or more accessory structure, parentheses, garage, parentheses, than permitted by ordinance to exceed the maximum square footage permitted and to exceed the maximum height permitted located at 907 Celia Street.
Thank you. Tonight is formality. You need to set a public hearing date for this variance request, and we're asking it to be set for September 9th, 2013 at 5:25 p.m.
Seems like a pretty straightforward thing to schedule. Commissioner, if you have any questions for Mr. Brown?
I'll make a motion to schedule that public hearing. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Towers, seconded by Commissioner Care to schedule the Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing itemized in item F1. All in favor of that scheduling the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item F2, discuss and consider approving lease agreement for rental space at the city center with Mara McKay.
Again, we have another tenant for the city center. The terms of the lease agreement are there's a $90 monthly base rate with $10 for electricity. They don't have a separate meter, so we'll just provide a stipend for that. There's going to be a $15 internet fee. That's something new we haven't seen before. They are getting internet down there and some phone service, so they are attaching some additional fees to some of the contracts. So that is included with this agreement. And this one agreement will require 9 hours of volunteer labor, and there's $180 security deposit. All the other terms are what you see in the other lease agreements.
That 9 hours of volunteer work, is that a one-time deal, or is that?
That's monthly.
It's monthly.
Monthly requirement, yes.
That ought to be spelled out in these.
It is, yeah. it spelled out
I'm
there.
looking at base rent. It just says 9 hours, monthly installments. Okay, I guess it doesn't make sense. All right, commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Make the motion to approve the lease agreement rental space at the city center with Maria McKay. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kayer, seconded by Commissioner Towers to approve the lease agreement itemized in item F2. Any further discussion?
One question is, are the other tenants going to be paying the additional fee for internet?
What they're looking at doing is there are existing lease agreements out there. And again, if they want that service, they would have to pay that, but they're not requiring it until those lease agreements come for renewal in 1 year. So after that 1 year period, then they will be inserting that in all their agreements. But in the interim period of existing tenants, my understanding is if they want to use the internet, they would have to pay that fee.
I have one other question. How close are we to entering into a contract with the city center board?
What we do, and actually we talked about this at the last CAT meeting last week, is get together with one representative from the city center, from the theater and the city, and finalize that agreement. There were some, I think, 2 outstanding items. One was just access to the restrooms, and that did get worked out how that can work. The other was the boiler system connects to the theater, and there was some discussion on the theater level, on the theater board, if they could disconnect themselves from that boiler system. And I don't think they, at least I haven't heard that they've solved that issue yet. So we're going to get together approximately a week from now and sit down with each party and come up with a final agreement with the city attorney. The agreement is pretty well developed. Those are just a couple items that we're trying to be worked out. I do believe we need to move forward, even if those issues aren't fully worked out, to finalize it so that things can move forward. And if there is something in the future that changes, that we can come back to each party and be modified again. But that what issue with the boiler is kind of one that's not yet resolved.
And the other question I have is, it doesn't deal with this lease either, but it's just a general question about the city center. How is there a cash flow?
The city center cash flow? Currently,
It's kind of a blindside question.
no, I deal with financial all the time, so no, the rentals that are taken in, the rental income that was taken in for the city center this past fiscal year was sufficient to cover the normal operating costs of the city center.
Are they building up any kind of fund balance at all? I know
They are, the DAP themselves are. Again, the rent, because the rental agreements are with the city, those funds come directly to the city and are used to pay the electricity costs aside from that of the tenants. Tenants are all metered. Now the DAP is taking in income with different types of programming and things like that. They're building up a small cash flow, and they're starting to get that going to kind of do some other additional things that they want to do aside from the building improvements. There's some set aside dollars for that from past vendors. But as far as the city center and the city goes, the revenues are sufficient to cover the expenditures.
Well, it seems like things are going the way that we hope they would, at least to this point. They're paying their bills.
Yeah, I think a perfect scenario for the city would be for that agreement to get put in place, and the city's, I guess, side in that would be a one-time, once-a-year payment from the DAP to cover the insurance cost of the building, and they maintain all other operations, revenues, and expenditures as their own entity. That takes them off of our books and lets them operate by themselves. We're getting to that point slowly but surely.
It does seem to be the goal. All right. Thanks, Paul.
Just a reminder, Commissioner, please speak into the mics. I know there was a comment that they can't hear you. So try to get up to that mic if you're speaking, okay? Just a reminder.
Sure. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Tower?
Yes.
Care?
Yes.
Seymour?
Yes. Item F, discuss and consider granting an easement to Excel Energy on Lot 6 of the city of Ironwood Industrial Park near the Hope Animal Shelter.
All right. Last month, or last meeting, it must have been last month, 2 meetings ago, we talked about this easement request from Excel Energy. You did vote to have a purchase, grant option, a purchase for the substation property just south of it, so we're moving through on that. But they also needed small easements with the reconfiguration of their substation site at their power lines. So there should be a map, but there's a triangular shaped easements on either side of the existing easement that's there. One of the questions that the commission had was, how close is this easement to Hope Animal Shelter building? It's about 13 feet according to Excel, based on their measurements. So, and my understanding is that's, just on the ground. The wires are up above, so there's nothing actually on the ground that's in the way of the building. I did speak with Randy at Hope Animal Shelter there, just let him know what was going on. He didn't have any problems with the easements or anything like that. Excel is also willing to provide an ATV easement on the substation property. I know there's some discussion and concern about the use of the property for ATV use. Currently, the ATV unofficial trail is being driven on the east side of the property. Because of the reconfiguration and the expansion of the site, that will no longer really happen, but they are willing to provide an easement on the west side of the substation. There is an exhibit in the packet, but it's really hard to see. It didn't come through very well. But it's basically a straight line through. There's the substation, and this is kind of the easement area here that they will provide for ATV use. So Excel is looking for approval on this easement from the city so that they can move forward with their substation expansion project. And like I said, the next item as well on the agenda deals with another easement just south of this area.
Well, I'd like to thank you for getting all that information pulled together for us and for the more comfort zone and what could happen there. Commissioners, what's your thoughts?
As long as Hope doesn't have a problem with it, I don't see an issue with it.
Just to clarify, the 13 feet actually is to, I guess, the fence. There's a fence that's the closest structure versus the building at 13 feet.
So there will be no physical impact whatsoever on any of the whole facility?
Right. That easement allows for movement of the lines and all that kind of worst case scenarios. So that's even outside of that. There's 13.
I'd like the motion to approve granting the easement to Excel as described by Jeff.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Tower, seconded by Commissioner Care to approve the easement to Excel Energy on Lot 6 of the City of Ironwood Industrial Park near the Hope Animal Shelter. Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Well, Commissioner Seymour, just clarify, there will be some proceeds coming from this. I think it's $500 for this sale, and the next one is $1,140. Previously, you had earmarked money to go to the IAC for the sale of that property. My recommendation here is for these easements that you may want to consider just holding on to those funds. We do have some fencing in the area across the road on the other side of Bear Street, some mine shafts, so we may want to start putting aside a little bit of a fund balance for that. So just a suggestion on what the board maybe earmark as proceeds.
I think it's an excellent suggestion, and Commissioner Tower, do you have any interest in including that in your motion?
Yeah, I will add that to the motion.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Tower. And do we have support for that?
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Tower, amended motion, seconded by Commissioner Care, to grant the easement to Excel Energy on Lot 6 of the City of Ironwood Industrial Park, and grant the fee for the easement, or reserve the fee for the easement to development of safety in the mine shaft areas. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Care?
Yes.
Tower?
Yes.
Seymour?
Yes, motion carries. Item G, discuss and consider granting an easement to Excel 23-276-1010. Property is located south of Ayer and west of Bonnie.
All right. Similar, related to this substation expansion project, here's a picture. There's an existing line, the yellow line there, just south of Air Street, west of Bonnie, where there's an existing line. There's a prescriptive easement there right now. There's not a formal easement. So Excel is within their rights to be in there doing what they're doing. However, they will need to add an additional pole just south of Air Street to accommodate the new expansion of the substation. And in order to do that, they need a formal easement. They aren't able to go in and make modifications just through a prescriptive easement. So this easement, approval of this easement would allow them to add that necessary pole for the expansion of the substation. There's also discussion that an existing pole, so here's roughly where the new pole would go. There's an existing pole right here that may need to be modified depending on what the engineering calls for the expansion project. So that may need to be changed. Basically, it would be the old one would be taken out, a new one would be put in the standard style that they use currently. Planning Commission and Parks and Rec both reviewed this request, and they did recommend approval of the easement with some conditions or requests of Excel. Parks and Rec and Planning both said they would like to grant the easement. They asked if the pole needed to be replaced, if it's possible to relocate it to the east side of Bonnie Street. There's been discussion that a future parking lot could be placed in this location for Miners Park, and Parks and Rec felt that it was important to be able to move that obstacle out of the way for that parking lot. Excel indicated, at least Dawn indicated, that they would look at that if it would need to be replaced, if it could be moved physically based on the engineering. It may not be feasible based on the engineering requirements. That was a request that was made. In addition, they asked for the proceeds from the sale of this easement to be used for mine safety. There's some shafts in that area that need to be protected better and some better safety precautions. So they asked that those proceeds be used for that safety effort. And then, so that was Parks and Rec and Planning both agreed on that. And then Parks and Rec actually asked for something else that the city's been working on, is to, there's some property over off of Alfred Wright near the Excel facility that's kind of been closed off. It's been used as a ATV and trail route. Parks and Rec asked if Excel would be willing to provide an easement in that area to allow trail use through there. So that was something else they asked for, or asked if Excel would be willing to do so. So those are the three comments from Parks and Rec and Planning. Like I said, they did approve granting this easement. Excel does need this easement to be approved in order to start their expansion project on the substation. So with that, I can answer any questions. Otherwise, Excel is here as well.
I have a question for, is it Schwartz? Schultz.
Yep.
I'm sorry about
All
that.
right.
I lost my question. What is your timeline for this easement? How soon do you need the easement?
They want to start the work like in September if possible. So, yeah, it's all, I asked if it was possible to start and get this easement farther down the road, but they said just with everything with the line work connected to the sub work, it all needed to be in place for them to start.
And I had spoke to you before the meeting about some concerns I had, one which was restoration for any work you had done, and you indicated that you were fully responsible for any and all restoration. And I also asked you if you could do any work around the past G shaft where your poles are literally almost on top of the shaft, and you indicated that probably not.
Right. We really, the funds that have been approved for this project and the money that we spend on this project, we have to prove that it's related to this project. So I can't take money from this, and even though it's the same line, it's not part of this project, so I can't take that money and spend it somewhere else and still have it, be to this project. And so acknowledging why you would want that done, because it's not a very pretty area for sure, but, it's unrelated to this, and so I can't take the funds for this and do the work over there.
Sorry. Mr. Seymour, just maybe to play along that, that thought there. Similar to what was done further down, we were able to negotiate a landscape credit with Excel at one point that could be then utilized as a city stock bid for landscape purposes. And that way, Excel wasn't responsible for doing any other improvements, but it was a landscape credit that was provided. And the landscape is up to the city to determine what that would come out or what that would be in the future.
So would it be possible to embark on that process again?
I guess that's part of the discussion, part of the process. Here we haven't really talked about that with Dr. Excel on this particular topic that the event brought up. But I guess that's the discussion is taking place right now, and it's part of the process. So I don't know if that's something Don can commit to or not, but it's something that's definitely being asked.
I understand that. Is there any sense that we're giving up leverage by granting the easement towards one of these landscape credits?
Well, once the easement is granted, yeah, your negotiating position has changed. So I guess, again, with everything within reason, obviously they have to move forward with what they're doing. That's good for everybody here. I think we all understand that.
We do definitely understand that.
At the same point, there's a little bit of negotiation as part of these type of transactions. So.
All right, commissioners, any thoughts?
I like all three suggestions provided by our boards, specifically the funding being provided to the mine safety fencing. And do we have an answer on granting passage to that trail by Excel?
Well, I did track down one of the people that was involved. It sounds like it's been a gap of time since that was last being talked about. You mean right off the right, yeah.
Yes.
I did find one of the people that had been involved and just got a little bit of history, and it sounded like it was just something that, there was some, the discussions were taking place, what Excel would like to see, what the city would like to see, and it just kind of stalled out. I feel very uncomfortable tying the one to the other. The property off Wright Boulevard is unrelated to a transmission facility. It's unrelated to this project. The person involved works in my department, and I would feel very comfortable committing to helping him and working with him and getting talks back, getting things talked about for anything over there. But how long that might take and what the results might be, it's really hard to say. It's not transmission property, which is, what we're talking about here, transmission lines and substations. So I have no control over whether those people say yes to granting something finally or not. It's not off the table by any means. It can be talked about, but to wait on this for that, I would feel uncomfortable.
And I caution Parks and Rec planning that they can ask, they can request this, but to tie it, like Dawn's saying, to tie it to this easement, there's some legal issues involved in that, may not be the best route to go down because it's not related to the project specifically. So now, talking about payment going to mine shaft protection and possibly moving the pole is related to the easement. So those are, legitimate requests to be made of Excel, but obviously, Excel is willing to work with us on the easement over and off the right, but just wanted to caution on that aspect of it.
And I think the amount of payment, if there's landscape credit to be discussed, that's on the table here, that's legitimate. Maybe to talk a little bit about that easement over on Alfred Wright Boulevard. There were a lot of discussions with Excel on that. It got stalled, I think, at the point of whether it was motorized, non-motorized, and if it was motorized, who was going to maintain it. And at that point, the ATV group hadn't really been fully developed yet. maybe we're ready to get to that next step again, we can have some discussions relative to that issue also.
I feel it's in the best interest of those residents of Ironwood to grant this easement, definitely, but, you know, I would really like to make sure that we get what we can, in all seriousness, and landscape credit is one of those things, so I don't.
I do want to say, as far as the amount that I had, I worked up a sheet showing $1,178 that I'd be willing to pay for this easement. I do want to be honest, when an easement payment is made, the purpose of an easement payment is to compensate a landowner for loss of value. In this case, when a line is already there and we're coming through, and it's called a clarification easement. So it's basically, it's in this case, there's no formal written document. So we're coming in and we're clarifying exactly what our rights are, where's the line, that kind of thing. And in that case, with a private landowner, if we're coming in and we're doing that, it's a real basic $250 to $500 payment. It's not based on the length, typically it's not based on, you know, voltage. It's just, you have that line there already. We're not changing the value of your land. We're not coming in with a new easement. We're just paying you, you know, a base pay, a rate for working with us and signing the document. I did, in this case, we're adding the extra pole. So I did do a calculation based on 25% of fee value. So based on full, like, purchase price at the same rate that we're buying the subject land for. I figured it at 25% of that for that corridor. So it came up to the 1,178. You know, we have to be careful that if when we're doing a project, that we treat each landowner in the same manner. And if we already are offering more than double a standard clarification easement payment, to then be asked for more for a fund that may or may not be related directly to this line. Again, I'm starting to feel uncomfortable that if a landowner came to us and said, well, I want something else and I want a little bit more, all that goes back ultimately to the ratepayers. I mean, all the money we spend, it has, you know, it goes back into the rate eventually. So I feel like we've already been with that dollar going on there, I think it's 1178 now, but I just wanted, if that's what you were going to ask of me, it's certainly something I can take back and look into, but we're already offering more. And we need to be able to explain why this landowner would be treated differently than another landowner. And we can't just give anything and everything to, you know, other landowners whose homes or properties we're impacting too. So, like I said, I wanted to throw that out there too. That,
well, thanks for your honesty. All right. Well, we've heard a lot, more than we need to. Commissioners.
I guess what you're saying makes sense. It does, you know. I guess, do we think what she's offering is fair? No. I do kind of feel that way. So I will make the motion to grant the easement as described in item G in our packet to Excel Energy.
Is that at the 1178 amount? I guess we have two different numbers down, 1148.
Currently, this worksheet says 1140. Is that the actual number?
And I apologize, I was missing. I have a one dated 8/6. When I got the survey work back, it showed it as 1.57 acres versus I think that one said 1.52. So it's 1178. It's the compensation.
All right. So we have a motion by Commissioner Tower. Do we have a second?
Second.
Tower, supported by Commissioner Karen, to grant an easement to Excel Energy for parcel number 52-236-276-010 for the amount as noted of $1,178. Is there any further discussion? Oh, we have one more thing. We're debating whether to earmark that money for mine safety.
Yeah, I'll add that to my motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, let's start over here. We have a motion by Commissioner Tower, seconded by Commissioner Care to grant an easement to Excel Energy for parcel number 52-23-276-010 and to use the proceeds for mine safety. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Tower.
Yes.
Care.
Yes.
Seymour.
Yes. Item H, thank you. Discuss and consider authorizing the city manager to evaluate and approve bids for Social Security office improvements at the Memorial Building.
Again, as you're aware, the Social Security office will be moving in next door. We have entered into a rental agreement with them. The city is bidding out some of the improvements there, maybe moving some walls, some small architectural improvements for that office space. It's sort of a timing issue. So we already opened bids coming Wednesday, but actually tomorrow. And then we don't have another commission meeting for till the 9th. And again, at this point in time, we are trying to get into the space here as expeditiously as possible. So if the commission is comfortable with open bids, if you give me authorization to review those and approve the bids. What we do with the bids, we do also have the Social Security Administration review those. They're the ones that are paying for this, so they have to be comfortable with the bids. Also, because ultimately they're going to pay for those improvements. So if you were comfortable with that, it'd save 2 to 3 weeks of construction time and get them into the office in their anticipated schedule.
Makes sense to me. Just keep us in the loop.
I will.
I'll make the motion to authorize the city manager to evaluate and approve bids for the Social Security office improvements at the Memorial Building.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Tower, seconded by Commissioner Care to authorize the city manager to evaluate and approve bids for the Social Security office improvements at the Memorial Building. And I do have a question. Any ballpark idea of what this will cost? But we expect that we'll recoup it on our rent.
Actually, it'll be a direct reimbursement from Social Security outside the rent, rent is separate from this.
So we're not on the hook for anything in this process.
We are not, no. They're paying for all the improvement costs, architectural fees, all the different expenses.
Well, we have a motion by Commissioner, well, we're in our discussion phase. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item I, discuss and consider resolution 013-023, recognizing the week of September 8th through September 14th, 2013, as Suicide Prevention Week in the city of Ironwood.
Mr. Gallen is not with us this evening. He was unable to attend, but the quilts will be displayed at the Memorial Building again this year, and he requested that we approve this at this meeting, so it makes the difference.
So it's unfortunate that Mr. Galvin couldn't attend. He's very passionate about this and gives a really good presentation. Thank you for asking us again. Is there any thoughts from either of you?
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 013-023.
Do you want that added in there, full speed split or? Okay, support.
Motion by Commissioner Tower, seconded by Commissioner Care to approve resolution 013-023, recognizing the week of September 8th through the 14th, 2013, as Suicide Prevention Week in the city of Ironwood. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I'll need a roll call.
We need a roll call.
Yes, please. Care.
Yes.
Tower.
Yes.
Seymour.
Yes. Item J, discuss and consider authorizing to advertise to bid sanitary and storm sewer televising.
This is fairly routine prior to some of the project design that's taking place north of US 2 and west of the Kmart area. Some of those areas need to be televised, as there are other areas in town. So with your authorization, we'll go out and get bids from televising contractors and bring those back to the commission for consideration.
Make a motion to approve item J is presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kare, seconded by Commissioner Tower to discuss and consider authorizing, or to authorize advertising to bid sanitary and storm sewer televising. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item K, manager's report.
Just a few items to update. The Northwood paving has finished some street patches in town. You probably saw them in town last week. We still have a handful of patch locations that will be done in mid-September. They've actually moved their plant. We're working under a change order process with them in the contract. So their plant is no longer in town and actually has been out of the area for a while. So they're using this as they have opportunities to come back and help us out with some of the street patches. So just to give you an update on that. The Civic Center project is moving forward. The City Commission previously approved the bids for that. Contractor, we had a pre-construction meeting yesterday out there. They are starting to work. They are starting to saw cut the existing concrete slab, and they will be hauling that out probably later in the week. That will be probably a couple-week process just to get that concrete out of there. That is moving forward. They are going to be looking for some volunteer help, probably early part of September. So I guess as they go forward, we'll keep everybody aware of that, and they can get some credit to some of the work out there and save some money by getting some volunteers to help out. So again, they'll be asking for some assistance over the next few weeks. We are continuing to work with the EPA down at the gas plant site. Again, the site has been cleaned up and stabilized, and we're working with them on restrictive covenants for the site, what can and cannot be done on the site. I'm anticipating at the next meeting we'll bring that forward to the City Commission for your consideration. We're also working with them on a operations and maintenance plan. We are responsible then to maintain the site. If there's a washout or erosion on it, we'll have to go back and touch that. So again, those are some of the details we're working on with them regarding that project. We're also working with FEMA regarding the flood that occurred here this spring. We have a couple of locations in town where some culverts need to be replaced, and FEMA is working with us on those locations. And we'll also be looking to get some reimbursement for the expense with the sandbagging and all that upfront expense associated with that flood. So again, we have a number of staff members that are working closely with the FEMA staff regarding that funding and some of those project improvements. And public safety, as we had mentioned before, hired 2 part-time officers. They are coming on board this week, and we expect that probably the next meeting we'll bring them, introduce them to the City Commission. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Item L, other matters, 3-minute limit. Commissioners, do you have any?
One question regarding the paving. Are we going to get to the Air Street and Mill Street roads this year?
Air Street and Mill. This year is going to be somewhat challenging. Again, the project requires a bid out, just the nature of the size of them, the dollar amounts that we're talking about. Northwoods Paving doesn't have a paving plan. We've talked to Northwoods about this, and we change order into a project. They do have open contracts with them. Being that their plant is no longer in the area, it looks like our ability to change order that in is limited to non-existent. So if we do all for bids right now, our time frame is fairly short. And the other part is we only have multiple bidders probably on that project. So we are still having some discussions with Northwoods whether it's still something that can be changed ordered in under bid prices that we have from the previous project. But right now it looks very questionable whether we can get that installed yet. So there's no timing standpoint. And they're having moved their plant out of the area.
Not happy with that.
Me neither.
And we concur with that. So, but we are, limitations on what we can do. And if there's a way to squeeze it in this fall, we'll try to work it out. Practically it might be next spring.
Anything else? Is there any way that we can get the word out in some other way to the Civic Center needing volunteers? Put it on our website. Is there anything else that we can do to get that word
you can go to the website. Civic Center Manager Brian Lee is really working on the volunteer effort. I think he does have a pretty good list of volunteers. We can get it on our website and make more people aware of it. They can contact Brian. I think it seems like there are a lot of people that would be willing to help with that.
Be nice if it found its way into the Daily Globe article about this meeting.
It's already been in, so
Anything else, Commissioner? Okay, we're moving on to item M, citizens wishing to address the commission on items not on the agenda, 5-minute limit.
Yes, Paul Grabowski, calling again. This is about the blue house on the 1200 block of Celia Street. Commissioner, did you ever go look at this place?
No.
I don't know.
Okay. Now, somebody was always throwing garbage out there, their garbage, and the garbage man picked it up. But what happened now is one of the neighbors came over there and says, there's no water in that house. So guess what's there? 2 bags of garbage. And what's in the neighborhood? Crows. So they didn't hit it yet, but they're gonna hit it. So I wish the police department would go over there and go through that garbage to see whose stuff this is. And give somebody a ticket. Because the crows are gonna be there. You know that. And the dogs that run loose. And one other thing is all these projects that are going on, the city stuff, is where's all this money gonna come from? You've got a big project with Johnny Harkle's building up there. The last building that he had was over by Walmart, that house, and it cost him about 60 grand to get rid of that. He just moved everything up to the old Peterson supermarket, and this is bigger. Eddie Ricker, he's been doing his stuff for the last 6 or 7 years, and nothing's been happening there. The city's gonna get stuck with this. And you wanna there's that $50,000 you wanna put into a sidewalk from Curry to Greenbush. That's a lot of money. Then you have the underground power lines that you want to put in this project. Somebody's going to have to pay for that. And this safe roads for the kids, you want to have extra snow removal on the streets and the sidewalks and that. Last year you couldn't even shovel the front of this memorial building. Where's all this money going to come from? I know you're going to plus you got the bill from the EPA and the maintenance on these non-motorized trails. And one other thing is, when the regular street foreman comes back, that Jason Ellen is, what's Jason going to do? What's his job going to be?
Are you asking me to?
Yeah, I'm
not going to give you an answer. You can give me your thoughts on things, but I'm not going to give you an answer.
And you're asking the city taxpayer for 2 more mills for street repair. You have all these other projects. This sounds like you want to rob Peter to pay Paul. But you have to come up with this money. I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. It has to come from somewhere. And there's so much stuff on these summer taxes. Everybody and their brother is on that asking for stuff. And there's just too much. The people are just spread. I mean, they're tapped. Their funds are tapped. And you have to get these finances. You're spending. When your pocketbook says 10, don't spend 20. The way you're spending this money. You know, these are all nice projects, but something has to be done with the spending on these projects. The sewers project, the depot is fine, you know, that's great projects. But it's just the maintenance and all this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Glavasich. Is there anyone else that would wish to speak to the commission?
On Celia Street, at 1200 block.
No one else wishing to address the commission? We're moving on to item N, adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Towers, supported by Commissioner Carey to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're adjourned.